Hey guys, this is Yogesh joining.
Hey, Yogesh.
How goes it, buddy?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm alive. Doing
Yeah.
okay. I like how Theo has a moderator attached to his name permanently.
I don't know how that happened, actually.
Well, on my end, Yogesh, I don't know what our Micron IT restrictions are, but they always change my name back. I can't keep my Micron tag in there.
I say it right. I mean, under your picture, I see your name followed by Micron. So.
Well, I just put that back in. I have to do it every meeting if I
every
want
time you
to.
I see.
I often forget.
I can't be bothered anymore. I have given up.
Well, I mean, your title is good.
Suits you, Theo. It suits you.
All right, I'll keep it then.
How is Mark doing today?
Mark's in the same boat. He's had to put his label back several times. So you guys are not alone.
Makes me wonder what does mine look like.
You have no label,
Oh.
and you should be moderator.
That's right.
I don't like this. I like to be a freelancer.
You're incognito.
Oh, well. All right. Okay, I see. It seems like we're getting some of the crowd from the other call. Vilas is here. Hey, Vilas.
Hey, Yogesh. Hey, everyone.
Five minutes over. Let's start collecting opens. Are there any? I hear crickets. Okay, so no opens. I think we can open and continue to start to work on. Let's take a toll. We are in the second week of August, and we have ambition of releasing some version of the in-band requirements. How do you guys feel like? I mean, for us to get this through before the global summit, which is kind of mid-Octoberish, we should get this wrapped up in the next 5-6 weeks latest. Any thoughts or comments on that? Anil, good timing. You want to go ahead and start sharing the document? I was just kind of wondering how far are we from, getting it to a release level version? Because the global summit is in October, and we wanted to have a release before that, which kind of gives us about 6 weeks at the most.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just catching up. I think we converged on the block diagram level, and is Shubhata on the call right now? We didn't get a chance to sync up offline.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So I added a small paragraph to describe the diagram that we worked on last time, right? And there are a lot of comments which are great. I think we should go through that and the other thing was Drew and I were supposed to work offline, but we haven't had chance to do that. So there was a section about out of band. The big diagram was there, right? So and then there's a description following that diagram. I think that could be removed, but I need to sync with Drew to see whether we need to either just remove it or improve the description to talk about the in-band mechanism. So that's still pending, but we can review that paragraph if you want.
Okay, let me open. Is Dean on the call? Yeah, Dean is here. Very good. Yeah, so let's go through the comments. I'm going to share my screen. All right. Can you see what I'm sharing?
Yep.
All right. So should we just start from the beginning and start going through the comments? Or Shubhada, you want to go through the additions you did and then come back?
I'm okay either ways. That paragraph may require more discussion. So if you want to just get through the comments, that's fine too.
Okay. So yeah, first of all, Dean, really appreciate. I think you provided quite a bit of feedback here. So since you're here, maybe we should walk through and have you describe, maybe provide more clarity, and then we can incorporate your feedback. So I think first one, I recommend deleting this phrase. Habitual may have other reasons. Like to take it further. This document should avoid any mention of the current or existing condition. That there is a lack of standardization or in-band reporting. Okay, I see. Yeah, so I'm good with that. So I see. So I think we can just remove this thing. Yeah, I agree. So if nobody has any other concern, I'm okay to remove this because this is just unnecessary unnecessarily adding this verbiage here. Is everybody okay? Anybody
Yes.
has any concern?
Sounds good.
All right. Actually, before I do that, sorry, I want to make sure that Vilas, this problem statement, that there is a lack
Yeah,
of
sorry, Anil, I agree.
Hey,
Yeah,
Vilas.
the rest of my comment was more general about the document in general, right? But I agree with Dean.
Oh, okay. So I'm not missing anything here, right? So I agree.
Oh.
Sounds good. And I know what we get. All right. Next is recommend deleting phase. Happens may have other reasons for building their own solutions. Okay, so based on the methods in the serial appears to be a promising method collect.
Oh, you just did that one.
Sorry?
You just did that one. You want to go down?
No, I'm now on this one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Okay, so I would remove this statement. It is very predicated on the current state of things and will quickly become stale. Instead, frame this as a list of requirements. I see. Yeah, I think we also in the block diagram also we kind of remove the RAS daemon and made it very generic term, right? So yeah, so the methods. I see. So I think what we should really say here, maybe Vilas, you want to take a stab at it and reword this one?
I mean, my recommendation is just to remove it. I think it's extraneous and, you know, doesn't add value, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. We should replace this one with so once we made sort of clarify the problem statement here, right?
Yep.
Now we want to kind of say, okay, so then what, right? Or should we just
But
leave
then
it?
what is the rest of the spec, right? That's my view. Like this says something, this is kind of an aside on, oh, there's this thing here today that sort of maybe kind of works, but not really. But like the rest of, the problem statement is clear. The rest of the spec says what we want. And then there's a solution that meets it. And so
Yeah, maybe just remove it. Maybe if you want to save it as an example somewhere else, if it makes sense to mention RAS daemon, but not in here in our problem
Yeah.
statement. That's what Vilas trying to say,
So
right?
I think maybe one thing I'm thinking loudly here. Okay, so yeah, rather than saying appears to promising, we say RAS daemon has been used. However, it has its own challenges. Like that, we can. So it is still kind of problem statement by clarifying something has been used, right? And
sure. If you want to say, for example, RAS daemon has been used, but does not support error data, using CPER, does not. That's fine.
Yeah,
right.
Because I think it's important to kind of clarify that the methods, like for example, we are saying, EDAC and all that, right? So similarly for RAS daemon, we should make some statement because that's one of the in-band method being used. So
yeah, I think just calling it promising is causing problem.
Yeah. No, I will delete the whole thing, but I want to kind of capture the context of RAS daemon, right? So how do I say RAS daemon as another example. RAS daemon has been used.
So Neil, yeah, finish writing. What I'd suggest, right? We can write this, but then let's go back and let's separate out the problem statements, like what we want from the examples of what doesn't work, right? So, we can take the EDAC and the PCI errors and the RAS daemon and put them all together as examples that don't meet the requirements, essentially, right? As opposed to intermingling them here. So I think it's just finish what you're writing, but then let's take a note to go back and separate that out, right? I think that would help a lot.
Okay.
Now I understand what you were trying to say with the rest of the thing.
Right. RAS daemon has been used to process the error logs and present the data logs. Where has following challenges. And I'm going to delete this. Okay. All right. Now, is it okay what I did so far?
Yep, I think that's fine.
Okay. Now you're saying to make it more
just
generic.
just no tag me, Neil. I can make that change offline. I just want to separate out the problem statement from the examples of things that don't need it. I think it'll read better. So just tag me on
Okay.
a comment.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you. All right. These sentences duplicate statements in the problem intersection fully be focused on that. Yeah. So by the way, this all carry forward from the previous document. I didn't change something here. So yeah, I noticed there were some duplications. I mean, duplication is okay as long as it doesn't conflict the previous sentence or previous discussion. Should we focus on data center use model? I'm okay either way. Vilas, if you want to, we can remove this whole sentence.
I don't like duplication because then if we change it in one place, someone's got to go remember to change it, in another place.
Okay.
It just gets right. So
Sure. Anybody has any concern removing it? Okay. Thank you. And then, yeah, so the solution.
You just have to restructure that statement that follows it. Yes.
Yeah.
That's odd.
Yeah. Okay. You mean this one, right?
Yeah, that's one.
Solutions may vary based on data use model. Therefore, important to define data center use model. Yeah. Okay. And I think, Dean, you have some typo. Yeah, I think I'm okay with this. All right. What is in the environments under discussion is customer equivalent to tenant.
This is just a question. I'm not trying to change anything. I just want to understand when we say customer, are you talking about tenant in a multi-tenant system, or what? Who's the customer?
Yeah. So the way this is stacked up is this is a hyperscaler view. So hyperscaler in this example, right, owns hardware and firmware. So their customer means hyperscaler is the customer, and their end user is the end user. So similarly here, this customer is hyperscaler's customer. Now, if you go to the right-hand side, in this use model, hyperscaler own the whole stack. So really, they don't have any customer to serve except the end user. And end user becomes customer in some sense. And just to differentiate that, that's why the customer doesn't exist here. So customer actually is in the context of hyperscaler.
So in the first two, a customer could have multiple end users.
Customers will have their own end users. So there could be multiple customers, and each customer will have multiple end users. Could have multiple end users.
Okay, so I think that answers my question. I think it is these are tenants on the system. You could have multiple customers, and each of those customers can be independent of each other, right?
That's right. That's right.
Okay,
So multi-tenant
yeah,
here, multi-tenant here. Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can delete the comment or mark it resolved. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
And when you in
mm-hmm.
that same sentence, when it says customer owns the OS, owns there means is responsible for. You're not referring to changing OS source code or anything like that.
Customer is responsible. Very good.
Okay, just clarifications. Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, if we want, we can add a clarification to what customer really means here. But this do you want to say something on multi-tenant here to kind of remove any ambiguity in case somebody else may be thinking similar way?
I'd say we should actually think about simplifying it further. It's really what is in the control of the fleet operator, right? That's the whole point of this usage model, right? What is in control? So I'm after Dean's comment thinking about it, I think why we have three entities there, because it's either hyperscaler has the control, fleet operator has the control or not. Whether the control is with the customer or end user, does it really matter?
And if you look in the subsequent text where you use those three terms in the tables, I found it even more confusing. So I could use help in simplifying is always good. I don't understand how these things are related to each other because some of them seem orthogonal.
Sorry,
And I think Clint took a shot at explaining to me what infrastructure meant. So you'll see more as we go down below, but I agree with Yogesh. It's hard to see the picture you're trying to draw.
Sorry, I'm lost. Can you say where the ambiguity is?
For me, if you scroll down further, you'll see the table where these terms are used. It's several pages in the future, so maybe you want to wait. But I like Yogesh, I found the terms. I had trouble understanding why they were there, what they were trying to convey, and how they related to each other.
You mean
Yeah, I
between
think
hyperscaler, customer, and user, or
No, the
between bare
infrastructure
metal?
application, yeah, bare metal.
Yeah, I think specifically, I think to a lot of the comments Dean put on the table that's lower down is that these terms aren't consistently used. And so I think it's hard to map these terms here, the bare metal infrastructure application buckets, to the things in the table because it's just not uniformly used. So it might be good. I do like these three buckets. We had these three buckets identified long ago, but I think it would probably help things if they were the buckets that were used throughout all of these categories.
Yeah, so tell me where we got inconsistent, because I thought we went through all this. Sorry, are you referring to this use model here in these tables?
For me, yeah, those are the tables I'm referring to. So I didn't mean to make it jump that far forward, but I found them difficult to relate to.
Do you have any specific table where there was difficulty, or in general everywhere?
Yeah, well, I think actually the table that's fully on screen right now is a perfect example where the bare metal row has actual text and everything else is just feasible. And I think it's challenging for someone who, say, wasn't in the discussion when the table is being populated to understand, because there's just not much granularity being shown by this table.
Yeah, and actually, maybe so Dean, I did look at your comments and taken a fresh look at this. There's an unwritten goal of this document, which is that the errors need to be reported to the hyperscaler as used in that that first figure, right? And so doing, like, Dean, you had a comment here somewhere that says like OS first is perfectly feasible, right? And that's true from a pure technical point of view, you can do that, right? But it doesn't allow errors to be reported to the hyperscaler. And I think there's some caveats on that, like without the end user agreeing, or without the customer agreeing, right?
Oh, so that's a great explanation
Right.
of how the word customer fits in here and why the question was true. Yes, that's a good, yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, I think that's like actually just like an unwritten goal of all this, and I think we should write it. So I think your feedback's really good in that sense, right?
Yeah,
That's the benefit of a virgin reader, right? They don't have all the knowledge that came before, and you're sort of stuck there. And if it's not written down, it can't be untangled, and that's where I am.
I see. So basically, what you're saying is in this table, everywhere is a feasible, but there is that kind of
no. So Anil, no, it's not the table, right? Like feasible, like so Dean's comment, and at least one of them was, hey, it's perfectly fair, it's perfectly feasible to do an OS first error reporting scheme in a bare metal use case, right? You can do, and then the OS can go tell the hyperscaler about the OS is owned by the customer, right? The customer can then go tell the hyperscaler about the error, put aside the mechanism, right? I think your point is that's not acceptable because you don't want to rely on on your customers to tell you that, right?
Right, right.
And that's the
not
part
clear.
that's not written down. That's not
Yeah.
clear. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now that
Yeah,
Vilas
So-
explains it, I
it's not-
totally understand.
It's not in this table that we need to update it. We need to
Operator,
update
I
it
think
as
this operator
as
should
in the
really be called
goals.
hyperscaler, right?
But I'm
ultimately-
saying we should just update the goals, right? Like that's a goal of this document that just wasn't written down, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so we
it-
can,
it has perspective, Anil, and let me just give an example, right? What if the OS wanted to do DPC? There's a mechanism to, through OSC to negotiate, and the OS may have that capability. Would that make it not feasible? I don't think it would, right? The idea is there needs to be an overriding statement that describes, what Vilas is calling the goal, right? The problem is that I don't think everybody is going to have the same takeaway from this table saying OS first is not feasible. Well, it might be feasible for some features, and it might not be for others.
Yeah, I think it's also fair to Mark's point is it may be for a specific use case that even in a bare metal, you do trust that customer because they're a special customer that you have higher confidence in. But yeah, that is a very case by case, provider by provider situation.
yeah, that's a another good point, that this is a very kind of generic table trying to cover across all the error types or errors within all the components, but then in some specific cases, there could be some solution possible. But in general, bare metal for non-fatal recoverable errors, because there is a interaction with OS, and OS is not in the control of hyperscaler, then the default position would be that it's not feasible. Now, somebody can make it feasible by developing a custom solution.
Well, no, but Anil, what about the example I gave? What if there's a negotiation between the platform and the OS for ownership, of DPC? If the OS has the capability and it's negotiated with the platform through OSC, is there any reason why that wouldn't work and provide the end user with the DPC capability he wants, right? The idea is, I just don't know that I would use language as strong as not feasible.
I think what you're describing, sorry to interrupt you. What you're describing is like an infrastructure use model. In the bare metal, the basic assumption is that in this diagram, right, hyperscaler has no visibility into the OS, and hyperscaler cannot even. In fact, in this again, I'm making assumption here. In the bare metal, hyperscaler probably may not even give any control to OS, because OS is not under control. So all the OSC negotiations probably will be denied, and the firmware and the platform will own everything. That's my assumption. I may be wrong.
But Neil, I would just say that's fine with me. Then just state that.
Yeah.
Right. The idea is if that's the vision that you're trying to portray, then I think I'm okay with saying the assumption right up front is that bare metal will not be able to negotiate any features. Therefore, it's not feasible to run an OS first.
So Anil, the point you're making is critical, but it wasn't written down, so I didn't understand it until now. The point is the hyperscaler must have visibility into the errors. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And to Mark's point, that can be done in this example by an agreement, a contractual agreement between hyperscaler and the customer to forward information. And in some cases that might be acceptable. In other ones, you say, no, I don't have any guarantees. But the point that's being made, I think, is where Vilas started. Hyperscaler needs visibility into the data that's generated. And so how does this scheme or set of schemes move data such that the hyperscaler can see it at some point? I think that's the key that's the whole thing's predicated on and is not actually stated.
Right. Okay. So let's do it here, right? This probably would be the right place to make that clarity. Password provider.
I don't, not in the background, Daniel, right? It should, I mean, I think it's a goal. I mean, I keep saying it as a goal. I think of it as a goal, or it's it's fundamentally what this document is trying to solve, right?
So where do you want to put it at?
I mean, I would say either in the introduction or in the problem statement, right?
Okay.
Yeah, actually, so just read the very first sentence, right? The document defines requirements for system architecture to handle hardware faults so the desired availability and efficiency can be achieved. But, you know, somewhere like in that sentence, it says, and that the hyperscale, like there's an implied, the hyperscalers get the information about the errors, right?
Yeah.
That's just sort of like implied.
Yeah. Handling hardware faults implies reporting errors, section for
using embedded methods or reporting errors to the hyperscalers, right? Like it just doesn't say that, right?
Yeah. So yeah, no, that's good. So we can just make that clear here, right? Handling hardware faults implies reporting errors, RAS actions, remediating faulty components using in-band methods. Methods. Sorry, hardware by reporting section.
Well, yeah, reporting errors to the hyperscaler and allowing a hyperscaler to take RAS actions and remediate, you know, faulty components using in-band methods. Something like that, right?
Yeah. I'm just handling hardware faults implies reporting errors, faulty components. Components by the hyperscaler. Infrastructure management. Oh, management happening there.
Yeah, Anil, maybe just, you know, just tag this and tag either, you know, Dean, maybe Dean, right? You can write it. I was gonna say you or me. Just we can wordsmith it, but I think now it's clear why it's clear what needs to happen, right?
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna just clean this up and then I'll tag you guys so that you can revise it further.
Yeah, just one more comment regarding that. If we add similar statement before the table, that would also clarify the goal of the table, right? Because many a times you just lose that perspective that this is from the view of the hyperscaler, right? So maybe adding the similar goal before the table will make all of the feasible, non-feasible comments clearer.
Yeah, I will get there. Let's first clarify this.
So another comment is we wanted to keep this document for exclusively for in-band, or this is going to have both in-band and out-of-band? Because if that's the case, then we're using some language here which makes it sound like an introduction and problem statement that this is only about in-band. So out-of-band methods don't matter if that's the path, kind of what is implied indirectly, right?
Yeah, so that's a second level of discussion that we will have. when we start merging both.
Yeah, so Yogesh, I think our agreement was write the document purely in band. And then once it's done, determine whether we merge this with the like have two chapters, two sections and merge it with the
Okay.
out-of-band document.
Okay, so
Single
we will
spec.
reconcile. Okay, so we'll reconcile the
Yeah.
common section after we're done. Good.
That's right.
I'm
Yeah, exactly.
good with that.
Yeah, the title is a dead giveaway.
Okay,
Come on, Mark. don't make it obvious.
All right. Mark is extra sharp today because we're getting some rain here. It's not as hot.
Well, only
Okay.
where you are. It's still hot here.
Oh man, I'll push some your way too.
I hope so, because it got dark, so we saw clouds, but we never got rain. So I'm afraid we're gonna stay dry.
Okay, very good. Let's keep going. Okay, so we wanted to further clarify. Okay, no, I think Vilas and then you will clarify over here the intent, so that'll remove any ambiguity about the bare metal versus infrastructure versus application scope. We also want to clarify and also I'm sorry, there's a mix of CSP and hyperscaler here, so we need to clean that up also. But that's a more of a housekeeping work. So for now, let's just keep in mind wherever we are saying CSP and hyperscaler, they are interchangeable, and we'll clean that up. So here we're calling CSP and then customer. I noticed we didn't say anything about end customer. Should we also clarify, because that's what we are kind of saying here, right? Maybe one more bullet for the end customer.
Yeah, that seems like good practice, right? Each of these three things should call out each of the three parties involved.
Customer.
Or end user is what you said on the thing, right?
Oh, end user, yeah, sorry, end user. And I'll just leave it dot dot dot. Let's fill it up because it's just we'll take a step at it, and then end user. And we'll clarify that this is not correct. Customer use the application and on their home. Yeah, this doesn't make sense. So I will just mark it bad and need to clean this up. Okay. Error with error handling. Okay, that's fine. All right. This is supposed to be changed. I didn't get a chance to change it. Okay, I will work on it. Sorry, I missed this one. Then the next one is what does HS infra in out-of-band off platform BMC refer here? Oh, HS is hyperscaler.
Oh, I see now. Okay, sorry. Maybe I just didn't. Yeah, it's because it says hyperscale management infra, and then it says HS infra. So I think it would just clean up, be more consistent with the terminology.
Yeah.
But now I understand. Okay.
Right. So I was trying to fit this thing in the table. The short. Yeah. So maybe let me just HS infra. I see. Yeah, that maybe. Okay, I'll clean it up. It should simply say HS. That's it, right? That's what the short form we're using.
You have that. That legend at the bottom. I think you're good. You don't need to do anything on this, right, Vilas? On this.
No, I think the confusion here is this. I'm also calling out.
It's now that I see it again, it's a minor point that we can clean up you know, whatever.
Uh,
So let's
I
just,
mean, you have the legend for HS, it stands for hyperscaler, so that kind of
Yeah,
clears it up.
Yeah.
The foot-
Okay, cool. Okay, in band. All right. Yeah, so Yogesh, I think, did
Yeah, I
you?
didn't act on it yet. I need to work on that, yeah.
Okay. All right, now, does crash imply an uncontrolled termination of the system? Yes, don't panic and would also include. Okay, Dean, does that make sense?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. You can mark it. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. It seems to me that this comment, some other comment, we should break out a table, or if I was continuing it. Yeah, that's a good suggestion.
if you're okay with it, Anil, just like tag me or something and I can go, you know, take a swing at it.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I think that I like the idea. We will simplify the table further. Yeah. To simplify. Nice. Okay, same thing. Does this imply that there must not be equivalent of full cooperation between the current, and therefore the ACPI firmware first scheme is unacceptable?
Yeah, so Dean, my read of this is that sentence doesn't imply that ACPI firmware first is unacceptable, but what Clint says does imply that ACPI firmware first is unacceptable. Right?
Agreed. I'm trying to figure out my motivation for the question. It's been a while.
I'm also trying to think through when I wrote this thing. Okay. Okay, so correctable errors, corrected by okay, and then platform shall return the control to OS contacts. Utilities shall report the errors. Appropriate error storm handling is required. There must be no race condition between in-band versus out-of-band.
So that's the whenever I see those words, I always sit up and pay attention. What do you mean when you say there must be no race condition? So what's the cooperation between them? Or there's no expected cooperation. Something must be done to enforce that without the kernel's
Yeah,
assistance.
There's an assumption that's not called out here, right? The assumption is the platform runs in firmware first. So the platform owns everything. And then there's a negotiation between the platform and the BMC to see who's going to own which interface. So
Yeah,
under those circumstances, there's no race condition. The idea is the OS, is basically held off by the firmware first.
Well, that is true for the traditional ACPI OS first, firmware first design. There is a desire from, I think, a lot of hyperscale folks to be able to get out of band data, even if you are in an OS first ACPI mode, more or less. That oftentimes does require hardware changes because this race condition, if you want to call it. But that's specifically about enabling OS first plus an out of band path, which is not something that's it's not supported in the existing ACPI specs for sure.
Yeah, agreed. And asking the hardware vendors to add, registers to report, redundant error information, you can ask, but, I don't know how many will respond. And I mean, but I don't disagree ultimately, right? There are some vendors that, certainly want to have out of band access. I just think, it has to be, managed somehow, right? Either by having redundant hardware or by negotiating with a platform or, or whatever. There basically must be a way to control, who accesses what, who owns what, so that, multiple entities aren't stepping on each other as they're trying to manage.
So my question
I
along
think-
along those lines is, sort of splitting the difference between what we asked earlier and what Clint pointed out. It could be done by cooperation between, gee, my mind just flashed back 50 years, communicating sequential processes, right? Different pieces of software. And is that acceptable? And I guess it's a policy decision whether it is or not. And then there's hardware enforced sequential access. So just assuming in-band for the moment, both entities are in-band, they're both on the application processors. You can have hardware enforce serial access, so the OS doesn't even have a chance to get it until the firmware is done. And then there could be the out-of-band, in-band race condition, and that's more than I can do on the fly.
I do actually completely agree with what you're saying there, Dean, that there are a lot of ways to accomplish it. Hardware is only one. Obviously, if you actually do OS control and you just take it all away, or if you do the ACPI firmware first, that's great. Or if there's just something that the firmware or the hardware prevents the OS from accessing it until the firmware or hardware is done with it. All of these options, I think, are sort of permissible for what we have discussed in the past. So it might be good to just improve the verbiage to sort of make that more obvious. Sean has a hand up.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, when you start talking about doing OS first, you end up having to look at separating the register space anyways, right? Because you can get the same group of errors. You can have ones that you may be able to handle OS and ones that you may not. Anyways, the point being is there's kind of a requirement here for the hyperscalers that you have logging, right? Hyperscalers want to know that the error is occurring. There's another negotiation which says, well, who's going to manage it, right? And so there's a possibility, right, to have a negotiation and allow at boot time or when you launch the OS to go through this negotiation and say, I'd like to handle XYZ errors, but that doesn't mean you still don't within hardware report that out, through some other method. It does require that you come up with a scheme that says this error occurred, but it's just a notification. It is not a go handle it. Right. And so there's ways around this stuff. It does require hardware. Some of these cases require hardware, not all of them, but
So you could do that via the sequential firmware to software method. I agree 100% with what you said, Sean. And I don't think that's really called that throughout this entire document. I don't think it's what you just clearly stated. I don't think is. And I think it's an important aspect. There's error management and there's fault management. And they're two different things. They can be done by the same entity. They can be done by separate entities. They can be done in parallel or sequentially. And I think it would be useful, and I tried saying this in a few comments, but they're very terse, to introduce those concepts and decide what you're trying to handle here. Is it management of the error, that is how it affects the interrupted process, or management of the fault, which is figuring out what hardware misbehaved and how to deal with it. Those are
right.
different things. And the poison discussion exemplifies that perfectly.
Yeah, Anil, you might also add one part of this is, if there is a negotiation and an entity gains ownership, for example, of memory, then that entity is also responsible for resiliency, right? For doing any mitigation, in memory, because obviously, if for example, the BMC is collecting all the corrected error information for memory, he is the only entity in a position to be able to assign the proper resiliency feature.
Right. that is a right assumption. So regarding correctable error, I want to clarify something like in my mind, simplifying this. Correctable error handling, the way I see is that there should not be any race condition, because only one entity should really manage or should monitor it and then use it to take an action. So either it is BMC based method out of band, or in-band firmware based method, or OS based method. The challenges happens when we are trying to implement the fault handling and the error reporting by combining these between these three entities. Then that's where all these kind of race conditions may occur if we are not designing correctly. And we're just trying to clarify here that so I just added this clarification. In case both in-band and out-of-band methods are used simultaneously, then there must not be race conditions between in-band and out-of-band method error logging. So the race condition exists in my simple mind, right? When we have multiple entities trying to monitor and then take some action.
Well, I think that's the clarity that we need to do, right? Logging is fine. Who cares what order it got in? It's the handling. If you're going to go access the same resource, you don't want anybody clearing it out, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. And especially if there are multiple agents are involved, right? That's where these race conditions can occur. Multiple agents to take actions. I agree with you. If purely reporting only, nobody clears it, then everybody will be seeing the same thing, and there's no race condition. Race condition happens when one entity is trying to take an action, other entity is trying to just monitor, or two entities trying to take actions.
Right, which is important to clarify who manages the resource versus who is getting notified and managing the platform, really, right?
Yeah, so all we are saying here is some very high level kind of requirements, right? That for correctable errors, we just want to make sure that, especially if there are multiple agents are involved, then there should not be any race conditions where one agent is not able to monitor or take action because other agent came in and did something. And that's all we're trying to clarify here. I don't think,
but the baseline assumption here is that there is only one source of the error log, right? I think that's why we are talking about race condition here. So just clarifying that would be better, right? Then everything is
correct. So okay, so assuming there's one.
So Anil, I feel like we're now going down the path of really overcomplicating this, because as an example, it's also not okay to have a race condition between in-band error handling and power management software, right? But like the way you phrased it means that someone could read it and be like, oh, that's fine. I've got two different software entities that aren't talking, but they're both in-band, so whatever, right? So, I mean, your requirement is simply that the in-band error handling software has full, unfettered access to the logs that it's reading, right? I don't know how we want to phrase that, but I would recommend that we just avoid talking about other stuff and just focus on that, right? You see what I'm saying, right? Like,
yeah,
I could choose to report errors through some, I don't know, power management infrastructure, right? But then if RasDemon and my, I don't know, power management, widget are both trying to access it, like you still have a problem, right?
When you say power management, you mean
just some other software entity, right? Or some performance monitor, or anything, right? Like some other, like it's not just in-band and out-of-band that need to avoid race conditions, right? You need the in-band error monitoring agent, the IMA, to have full, dedicated to appear to have full dedicated access to whatever it's seeing, right?
I see. So what you're saying is that in case we in-band method is used, then IMA should have full access to the error logs. And
I think Anil,
Mhm.
Anil, you were coming. You made this comment specifically keeping in mind that there would be hybrid kind of use cases that will be required basically. And if we, if I understand Vilas's comment properly, that rules out any kind of hybrid solution to be feasible.
No. That's not what I'm saying, Yogesh, right? I'm trying to expand the scope of what he's saying, because again, right, I can design a system that has no race conditions between in-band logging and out-of-band error logging, but has a race condition between in-band logging and something else, right? And like that wouldn't meet the spirit.
So
of
you're
what's trying to be
saying not just in-band and out-of-band, but you're saying
yeah,
in-band
and anything else, right?
Yeah, but the terminology is having full control. Okay, so basically it's negotiated and depends on which resources are owned or controlled by which agent, in-band, out-of-band, or X agent, right? Whatever agent it may be, should have full control over that resource or part of error handling.
I would almost
I
just
think-
say there must be no race conditions for the IMA to access the
Yeah.
error logs or something like
Makes
that.
sense.
Just leave it like that, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think that simplifies it greatly, right? If you just leave it as it has to have unfettered access to error logs, everything else follows from that.
Right.
yeah, corrected error. How about that? Let's keep it as simple as that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And again, I think, so to my earlier point, Anil, I think that's a general requirement for everything in this table, right? And so we can
Yeah.
pull it out.
Yeah.
Try and do that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think just this discussion happened because Dean added
Yep.
one more question here, which is a good discussion, just kind of align ourselves, right? So, so I'm going to just cross it out for now, and then Vilas, you will clean it up, right?
great place to. Oh, sorry, Vilas, didn't mean to interrupt.
No, I just said that's fine.
No, I think this is great time for you to shake your martini because everyone agrees.
Okay.
Yeah, it's about that time.
Is that how the meeting ends?
That's the
yeah.
telltale sign. Vilas
Okay.
shakes his martini.
I used to open a bottle of beer, but then I went on a diet, so I, changed to martinis. So
Excellent.
And
Yeah.
I'll do some more review of Dean your comments and see if I can clean up more. So just to summarize, right? I mean, and they're good comments. Thanks for reviewing. And I think by the time we finish these further edits, we should have a cleaner document. And maybe I'll set up the offline discussion, Vilas, with you, because I think you took some major task here. If that's okay with you. To
yeah,
work offline.
A good discussion today. Thank you all. Thanks everyone for your comments and contributions. So let's meet again next week. Okay.
Yeah.
Anil, if you can also take a look at that paragraph below the diagram, that would be good.
Yeah.
So then we can discuss it next time, and everybody can actually review it. Right? So it's about this diagram.
Right here, the show below.
No. Yeah, before this one. So this was, we finished the diagram last time and there was some description needed. So I added that.
Yeah, the description is here, right? This is the one?
No, all the way above. Like if you go to the first diagram, the one, this one. So I added this section right below.
This one right here?
Yeah. So it's just describing what are the components and what their role would be, what could be standardized or what should be standardized.
Okay.
And so that's.
I'll take a look at it.
Yep.
Cool. Thank you.
Everyone can.
Perfect. I appreciate that. Okay, let's stop here.
All right, see you next week. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye.